Let's pull up this picture we got here. We got a tweet from Andrew Doyle. Take a look at this.
It's terrifying.
So, Greg, you're from the UK, right?
Yes, I am.
What is this? Where is this located?
It looks like, well, there's a double-decker bus there. It looks like it's Regent Street. It looks like south looking down Regent Street, which crosses Oxford Street. But it also looks like, I don't know, it's emblematic somewhat of...
For those that are just listening, it is probably like 100 Pride intersex flags, five flags per row, 10 rows
50.
deep. At least 50?
At least 50.
Well, it cuts around the corner, so you can't actually see, but
yeah.
you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 that can be seen.
Right.
So quite a bit more than 50.
65 at the very least.
Yeah.
This is, what I think, maybe you were thinking this, Greg, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like, I thought this could have been a picture from Nazi Germany that was colorized, and then the Nazi flags were superimposed with pride flags. Because it is freaking terrifying how a bunch of I'm not gonna generalize.
Ideological flags being flown. So I have a question though. Is it overreact? Is that an overreaction? Because I was facetiously tweeting on Twitter like it's literally Nazi Germany. Like, I don't care about the pride flags.
Well, I look at go ahead.
Just real quick, I'm wondering if you've ever seen an ideological flag flown to this degree in the UK like this.
Never, but no. And what it makes me think about is the Union Jack, the flag of England. So it was about 15, 16 years ago. I went back to England, and I'd been away for a while because I live in America. I'm an American citizen now, and I mentioned flying the Union Jack, the flag of it. And oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's a symbol of racism now. I'm like, hang on a minute. The Union Jack is a symbol of race. When did that happen? I grew up. My grandfather fought in the second. I'm so not going to my grandfather, but he did. He fought in the Second World War. And he lost his firstborn son during the Second World War. Well, why can't we be patriotic? Why can't we talk about the pride for the people who give their lives and to afford us our freedoms? And I look at this and I think, well, it's not so much that flag. It doesn't really mean that much to me. It's what flag should be flying there, and if it were flying there, what we would be thinking, what we would be told to be thinking. We can't celebrate that flag.
Let's read Andrew Doyle's tweets. He said, for some, these flags represent diversity and inclusion, but for many, they symbolize an ideological movement that is hostile to gay people and women's rights, opposes free speech, legitimizes violence and bullying, and hounds people out of their jobs if they fail to conform.
Yeah.
That's right. There was a comic shop near me a while ago, and I remember I went there, and it was cool, and they had stuff, and I bought it. One day I came back, and they had a big flag, one of these flags in there, and I was like, I'm not going to go there again. Because these are the people that have defended murder and violence. If I went to a comic shop and they had a swastika flag, I also would be like, I'm not going to go there because these are people who have justified violence, murder, and harmed other people. And I don't trust people of this extremist ideology. If I'm working, if I'm on the job and I'm working politically and I have security and stuff, I have no problem interviewing Antifa or alt-right or whatever. But I'm not going to go to an establishment that flies that flag because it's legitimately an extremist organization. Flying the flag of an extremist ideology. Not interested. Going to New York this past weekend for the event, like every single business was flying the flag. You come out to West Virginia and surprise, surprise, even small towns out here fly these flags. But these flags, they do not represent pride and love and inclusion. They are flown by people who have thrown Molotov cocktails through buildings. They are flown by people who have brutally beaten journalists in the street and who advocate for executions, assassinations, and revolution. They are political extremists. Now, if you agree and bend the knee to the ideology, you'll be fine. But if you stand up defiantly and say, what you did to that man in Provo, Utah, I think it was a man, shot in the arm driving his car for no reason, is wrong. And they say, it was for a good cause. What you did to David Dorn was not good. They say, don't you dare defy us. It's like, okay, these people are psychopaths. And the flag of a psychotic death cult is being flown. Now, you want to come out and say that Donald Trump supporters are a death cult and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, there's no institutional power behind the QAnon people. None. It's like maybe some high profile people, but nothing relevant. In the modern conservative movement, libertarian, and with moderates joining the ranks, it's people being like, I think people should have a right to choose in their own state how they live, versus the left saying the federal government should impose our will over the entirety of the country. One's extremist, seeking politics based on domination, and the other is seeking politics based on moderation. Unfortunately, it seems like the moderation political side is going to get crushed because they don't seek to dominate their opponents.
I think there are some people who maybe fly this flag and believe in inclusion and believe that they're believing it. But it's like a friend of mine who she was ultra woke and she was on the Women's March, and now she's kind of, she broke through that belief system. Let's say she doesn't have that that ideology that's like everyone on that side is bad, and she's actually seen behind the curtain that the mainstream media is not all it's purporting to be, and it is a lot of propaganda. So I think there's people that do you think there are people that are just ignorant who just want to support? Because I have nothing against the flag. When I see the flag, I don't think bad things.
Oh, well, the swastika, it was the wheel of life. It's the Hindu flower of life. It's an ancient symbol of peace and the turning of growth and death and life and rebirth, and it was a beautiful symbol. And the Nazis believed in the purity and the wonder of Germany. That's what the people believed in, is the greatness of the fatherland. And then, of course, the psychopath drug addict twisted it.
Yeah, that guy was on meth like crazy. Hitler, that dude was.
He was also deranged from the war. He was just a mentally broken.
And this is the issue. I think people need to understand too, the refusal to see historical analogs is based on the fact that things haven't gotten that bad yet. That's insane. So when you have Nazi Germany, I think it is a bit silly to constantly use them as the example, but they were so egregious. But why don't we use communist Russia and the revolution? And that's more akin to the leftist revolution. And they had their flag and they had their symbol, the sickle and the hammer. And they executed, the communism killed over 100 million people. Only lasted the Soviet Union, only 69 years. And look how much death, destruction, and genocide they waged. And people flew their flags. People thought it was for the good, for the better. They said, we're fighting for the workers, and we're making the world a better place, and we're dealing with the oppressors. And they were ruled by psychopaths. The average person who flew the flag, they're not evil, they're stupid. But stupid people in large quantities are extremely dangerous. Michael Malice talks about, he says, how could anyone be blackpilled? These people are so incredibly stupid. And I somewhat agree with him, but I will point out, zombies are also stupid. And 100,000 zombies marching towards you is a force to be reckoned with. That's what we're dealing with. People flying this flag are just like, I don't know, whatever. Do as you're told, don't resist, and you'll be fine. You won't be. They'll still come for you and cancel you no matter what you do. There was that author recently who made an off-color joke or something, had to apologize, and then even though he apologized, they came after him again. That's a story, a tale as old as time. The people are flying these flags because they think everyone else thinks it's popular. No one actually knows or cares what it means. It's a mishmash of nonsense. I'm willing to bet. In fact, when I was in New York, people were flying the rainbow flag, and that's considered offensive now. But they didn't know that. So they were just because the
rainbow flag's considered offensive.
Yes.
Why is that?
It's exclusionary to trans people and black people.
See, I mean, there you go. It's like, and now we see Martina Navratilova's comment.
You saw what she said to me?
What?
I said that given that there's a higher history of mental illness among the left, and that trans people have a higher rate of suicide, red flag laws will be used against them more often than against the right. And then she angrily responded that I was an idiot, that I was an a-hole, that I was making these things up and it wasn't true. And it's crazy to me because...
She sounds dangerous. Someone needs to... the police need it. I'm kidding.
It takes you 2 seconds to just Google it. And what do you get? 3,000 articles, all these different studies showing the left has higher rates of mental illness. It's a fact. It is an established scientific fact that the more liberal and left-leaning you are, the higher your rates of mental illness. I didn't make that up. She was arrogant, she was ignorant, and that's exactly the problem. She just saw what I said and said, how dare you, I'm angry. That's it.
That happens a lot. I mean, to your point about communism and the hammer and sickle, there are a lot of people still, we do, the false glamour of our idolatry and our iconography. I mean, we think it's cool, but we forget at times that, millions of people were slaughtered, during, these...
Holodomor.
The
Holodomor.
Yeah, I mean, so, I was suggesting that people shouldn't be, should people be glorifying the hammer and sickle? We don't glorify the swastika. I mean,
That's and that is something that is a failure of our education, our culture and our institutions. And now our institutions are co-opted, so they'll never come out against it. But the sickle and hammer represents 150 million dead. I mean, the things, this systemic and systematic execution of people. And what the people on the left, I love this, the Occupy Wall Street people. They don't understand they're the bourgeoisie.
Right.
That does not mean the wealthy elites. It means the middle class and the proletariat, the workers. They don't realize they are the people. They are advocating for their own wealth redistribution or being thrown in the gulags.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've had that conversation with people who are very wealthy and consider themselves to be on the left. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you are the bourgeoisie.
No, it's not extremely wealthy. It's middle class. The bourgeoisie
no, but like,
is
extremely wealthy compared to a large, vast majority of the world population.
These kids, these young people who are socialists, and they make $50,000, $60,000 a year. I'm like, you are exactly who Marx wanted to get rid of. And Stalin. Stalin's a better example because he was the one who actually did it. Yeah, they don't understand the intelligentsia. These people, the laptop class. If you were in Russia, I mean, that's who they came for first.
The commune already has a BuzzFeed article writer.
That's right.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that the hammer and sickle is not as taboo, and it's funny because you'll see a lot of lefties flying that flag or putting it in their bio as if that's edgy or interesting, but it's basically always been allowed, at least throughout my lifetime. The only way I remember communism really being addressed was with reference to the quote-unquote overreaction from it in the United States. I even remember in history class in public school when they were explaining communism to us, of course, they mentioned that many people were killed, but they also talked about the poor people who were supposedly helped by it. And we were kind of given both sides there, which is really interesting. Can you imagine if a public school teacher said, well, let's give you like both sides of this whole Nazi thing, right?
He did fix the economy, and Mussolini made the trains run on time.
Yeah, and so...
Yeah, I don't know if I care about those things.
Exactly. And so I got to say, it probably has something to do with the fact that many people in media and in academia are and have been communists for decades.
Yeah, people are commenting like McCarthy was right.
Well, and it's funny because people are shocked when you say that. It's like, well, why would that not be the case? Fear of communism has always, in every single instance it shows up in media, been scoffed at or laughed at. It's just a moral panic. Why were people afraid of that ideology that killed hundreds of millions of people? How silly.
You made a funny comment earlier about the future dystopia and the flags with rainbows and stuff.
Oh, when was this?
Just a moment ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah, before the show started. No, I was just saying, like, for historians to look back on all the tyrannical systems throughout all of history, and then they see ours and the flag is like, rainbows, happy, fun. Like, all of the other tyrannical regimes have these very intimidating symbols, and ours is like, happy, fun time, rainbow.
The swastika was a beautiful, it wasn't intimidating in the beginning. It was the wheel of life. It was a beautiful symbol.
And maybe it's because of the context, but also at the same time, like a swastika, like that black symbol inside of a white circle on a red flag does look intimidating.
No. So this is an interesting point, man. Like, it's funny that you bring up the rainbows and stuff, but I went to an antique shop when I was in Texas, and they had so many swastikas all over the place. And this is in Austin, and I was like,
it's Trump's America, you said.
Yeah, I was like, hey, ho, ho, antique shop has got to go. And no, I'm kidding. But I asked them, I was like, hey, how come you have all this swastika stuff? And they said in the early 1900s, it was considered a symbol of good luck and healing and all these good things. That's why the Nazis took it. So you could go around the U.S. on the south side of Chicago where I grew up. There was a house that had a swastika. It was a 2-story building, a swastika on the top, and wood blocks were hammered in to make it a square. But you could see it, and you knew it was a swastika.
I thought you were going to say there was a swastika on the house. And my old Argentinian neighbor insisted it was just a peace symbol.
Right.
And
you see it on like buildings in downtown Chicago too. In the Loop, you'll see like just carved into the stone masonry swastikas all along the top. Ancient symbols.
It wasn't until World War II the symbol became something else, and they inverted it. The actual symbol is
like that in the mirror. Yeah,
that's right.
So just think about that. Everybody is putting up these good luck symbols all over the place. And then along comes Nazi Germany. And it wasn't until we learned of what they were doing that we were like, whoa, that symbolized all this really, really bad stuff. So historians look back at it and they're like, look how evil and awful this symbol is. They may do the same exact thing to these flags. They're not going to look at it like it was pretty and happy. They're going to look back and be like, wow, how evil and disgusting. Who knows?
Wasn't the Nazi Party originally was it the German National Socialist Workers
National
Party?
Socialist
What it was.
That's what and Nazi was a slur. It was like they were making fun of them and stuff. Yeah, the German Workers' Party or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but they were like their version of socialism was based on like race. So it was like, is it identitarianism? It wasn't really socialism. Some people want to say it is, but it's like racial identitarian economics is something slightly different. But
Racial identitarian socialists, that sounds a little bit familiar.
That's
in the
what I'm
present
talking
cultural
about, dude.
context.
And it's
Yeah.
not even a joke. That's truly
No,
the
yes,
fear.
100%.
let me put it this way too. Sorry, these flags represent the exact same political ideology as the Nazis.
Yep.
Not in the sense of what they've done or want to do. It covers identitarianism.
Yeah.
They are identitarian flags that your race or so it's a flag of identitarianism. Now, how they implement it, how they feel about certain races is different, but it's an identitarian flag. That's what I mean to say.
Nationalsozialistische. I think that's what the Nazi stood for.
YouTube keeps telling me to inject ads. They're like,
Don't
put
do
an
it.
ad in.
We're
I
not
know,
doing
it's
it.
annoying.
Not
It's like
gonna
a
do it.
fake
Tell me to
tweet.
do.
With the healthy aging support of collagen.
Another aspect that worries me as we talk about the allegories between the flags being flown, ideologies being pushed, is the economy flailing right now, like it was in 1928, 29, right before Hitler, when
Isn't
people
it
were
funny?
starving.
It's like Weimar Germany. We keep
Yeah,
saying that.
so
Here we
great.
are.
You tell me you're going to fix it. You tell me who the enemy is, and I'll follow you anywhere because I'm starving.
El Salvador's looking pretty good right about now.
Well, it was
Bitcoin
inevitable that
Beach.
was going to happen with the economy, but I'm still surprised that the alarm bells aren't ringing. They don't seem to be ringing in the press that much. It's like, oh, this
Well,
stock
they're
market-
in on it.
Huh?
The press is in on it.
That's what I don't have a paper trail, but that is certainly what it seems like is happening. Have you uncovered much of a paper trail
What do you mean?
between global economy and the U.S. media apparatus, CNN, Comcast?
Do you mean like how Jim Cramer was telling people to buy up stocks right before the '08 crash? Or how he's like continually telling to buy when then the market
He's
crashed?
been at it again recently doing this. Well, I
Right.
think that's just in his blood, isn't it?
No,
It's his MO.
look, the media sells you out and lies to you, the corporate press, and the elites along with it. I mean, come on. When I was on stage at the Minds event, I wrapped up by saying, Trayvon Martin's story was fabricated. The NBC edited the audio to make it sound like Zimmerman was racist. Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. That wasn't true. Justice Smollett, that wasn't true. Russiagate, Ukrainegate. Joe Biden started his campaign. The Very Fine People hoax, like it's all lies, and it always props up the establishment politicians and their agenda.
What I like now, and what I think is different than 1929, is mass media was new then. They had radio, and they just began like television and video and stuff, film, and so they all bought in. They thought it was real. Even War of the Worlds, that Orson Welles thing. Some people I've heard thought that we were actually being attacked by aliens. People didn't question the media. Like Hitler had his minister of propaganda, and no one. I mean, people I don't think really they just saw it. They were brainwashed. Now we know that it's brainwashing, and so we're at least aware. And so I think that's why there's so much pushback, like what you were saying earlier about Glenn Youngkin getting elected, people being able to see the manipulation a lot more effectively than 100 years ago.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.